Hey, we're so glad you're here. Hey, Emily, I'm happy to see your face. Anybody's welcome to show their
Hi.
face if they want, but no pressure.
No pressure at all.
Yeah. So, hey, I'm Adair, for those who are not familiar. And my name's Adair Finucane. I am a yoga teacher, a social worker, and a wellness coach. And we're here to bring you 2020 vision so that
Mhm,
we can figure out the stuff that gets in the way of us having a really great life, unless your life
mhm,
is great already, in which case we're still glad you're here.
mhm.
Um, Figure out the stuff that gets in our way when we're trying to get stuff done, and figure out how exactly we self sabotage so that we can go ahead and like live our best lives.
Definitely. I'm Tira Thompson, and I'm an artist, an astrologer, and a yoga teacher. And I am just as excited as Adair to be here sharing these awesome kind of tools and um, kind of patterns on how we might sabotage ourselves or sink our own ships and how we can just live our best lives and really kind of start this new year creating the vision that we want for ourselves.
Heck yeah. So we wanted to start off by just like giving a shout out to Kate Stillman. She's our teacher. I've been studying with her for several months and she's really blown my mind. And she was the one who gave me the idea for this workshop. So shout out to Kate Stillman,
Mhm.
who presents these concepts for me and made me really excited to share them with the rest of the world. Hi, Jordan.
Hi, Jordan.
If
Hi guys, sorry I'm having on a few minutes late. I just got
No,
done.
no problem. We're just getting started. So yeah, here we go. This is our first webinar, so we're
Mhm.
figuring out the technology here. So yeah, we're pretty proud so far. All right, here we are. So it's New Year's Day. Happy New
Mhm.
Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. You know how like people do New Year's resolutions?
Mhm.
What's up with that? What's the deal? Well, the deal is that when we have the opportunity to start fresh, we as humans really seem to like that. And that's like a great thing. And New Year's resolutions are particularly popular around health and wellness, and patterns that we have, like these habits. So
Mhm.
around New Year's, we start to get a little more aware of like, ooh, what am I up to? And what do I want to have be different as I move into the following year?
Mhm.
And that is like really great. And it makes a lot of sense because we live in a crazy world.
Mhm. Like really wild.
Like it's a really wild world. So if you start thinking about the amount of stress a lot of us experience,
Mhm.
stress from like, I don't know, we'll start with something really basic like social media. Um, the craziness that can come from comparing ourselves and our experiences to other people's, the standards we end up weirdly holding ourselves to, maybe without
Mhm.
even meaning to do it, and the ideals that we end up having around like how we look and how we seem to be and like the kind of money we make and the places that we live, all of those things, that's stressful.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean we have to buy into it, but I would say it's a default setting until we actually take that off,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Definitely. And one of the really awesome things about New Year's and how everybody kind of, it's a thing, New Year's resolutions. It's kind of being like, okay, let me reflect about myself, about my life. What is it that's not that optimal that I kind of want to shift, that I kind of want to change? And sure, I think a lot of the time people aim really high and it's hard to kind of like get there because it's just so high. Um, but it's a great kind of way to look at it in these things are malleable. Like they aren't your identity. They're things that you can change and they're things that you're outside of yourself. So it's a awesome quality to the New Year's resolution where it's like, oh yeah, that's not like that doesn't have to be my story. That doesn't have to be me. I don't have to attach myself to that.
Yeah, there's things that we'll end up thinking or ways that we'll end up feeling that feel like they're actually us.
Yeah.
And thank God they're not,
Hmm.
because the world that we're living in right now, with we have, not to like be too doom and gloom, and really I don't feel doom and gloom about it because we have so many options for change, but the Center for Disease Control has claimed sleeplessness and chronic exhaustion to be a public health crisis. Like, we're living in some crazy times, and the adrenals, the glands that pump out, I think they pump out our cortisol, but they pump out adrenaline. They're the things that like keep us going. For most of us, they're really taxed in the world that we live in. And our hormones are out of whack. And what happens when we end up in a position where we are constantly going, not rejuvenating enough, and in a position where the adrenals are overdone, is we start to put ourselves and our bodies at risk for having autoimmune issues. And, you know, that's not like, oh, you're wrong or bad if you end up in that position. Like, I have an autoimmune disease. But it does mean that, like, if we don't have one and we know that we have a tendency to just like go, 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 because that's how we're wired in this society. It's not like we did something wrong and we ended up in that position. If we know that we're going a lot and we're not rejuvenating, then we're setting ourselves up for a body that will not be able to care for us and take us through the life that we want necessarily. And like, that's not where we want to live. We don't want to have like, you know, messed up adrenals and be constantly relying on caffeine and other stimulants to get us through the day. We don't want to have digestive issues and digestive diseases. We don't want to have high levels of heart disease. We don't want to have depression and anxiety. And all of those things like are bummers, and they're really big problems culturally. And also the beauty of them, as Tira was saying, like, we're malleable. Like, we get to have an awareness around what it is we're doing with our lives. So the second we become aware of what's going on, and that's the beauty of New Year's, is we have this like awareness, like, oh, there's stuff going on.
Yeah.
The second we become aware of it is the moment that we have an opportunity to make a choice. Right?
Yeah, completely. And with these big issues, it can seem kind of like daunting and like, oh my God, like I'm causing like disease in myself and causing my body to fall apart. Like I'm not surviving well. It can be overwhelming in itself. But then I think the beautiful thing is to take as well to go into is take manageable steps that are gentle, that are small, because they each add up. And it all kind of starts with, like Adair was saying, awareness, and then intention on what we want our lives to look like, and being aware of certain things that are symptoms to not being in alignment and not choosing, instead of being on autopilot. And then all these things come up, like stress and anxiety and depression, and then we reach for coffee and we reach for stimulants, and all of a sudden, you know, things just aren't working as well, and it can have a domino effect. It sounds intense, and the solution is like gentleness, awareness, and sustainability.
Yeah. And I just like never get sick of the beauty of like, well, there's nowhere to start besides right here and right now. So if we have certain tendencies that we know aren't serving us, there's nothing to be done about what we've done before, and that's okay. It doesn't mean we're like bad or wrong. It just means that like, oh, maybe there are other ways for me to deal with this, and maybe the solution to the problem is a lot smaller than the problem.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like taking a deep breath. Can we all like do that together over the internet? Can we take a deep breath in and sigh out 2019? Yeah. Let's do it again. I did one more time. Breathe in 2020. And sigh out 2019. Thank you. Righteous. Awesome. So yeah, we want to move into 2020. I'm going to speak for myself. I'm going to assume you're with me, and I'm imagining if y'all are here that like possibly this is the case for you. We want to move into 2020 with bodies that support us, with minds that are clearer, that make aligned decisions, and with lives that, as Tira was saying when we were talking earlier, are defined by a vision of the future and not by a memory of the past. So like, what are we looking forward to? What are we looking to? We need to look at our patterns and our past and our current situation in order to get a sense of where we're going, because we want to know ourselves well enough to figure out how we're going to get from right here boop, 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 through 2020, which is going to kick Heine.
Kick righteous Heine.
Kick righteous Heine.
Yeah.
So how does it happen? How are we humans so good at sinking our own ships and ending up like being like, oh, I'm going for like, I'm joining the gym and I'm going to change everything in 2020. Like, how are we so good at like being like really excited at the top of 2020 and then like dive bombing and not actually necessarily achieving the things?
Like, and quite quickly.
Quite quickly, going from here to here. Like, we've all done it. We've all like committed to something in our minds. Maybe if we've had like a drink or two on New Year's Eve. Like, I'll meet you at the gym tomorrow. We've all done it where we've, signed up for something or we've committed to something and just like, we didn't do it. And then maybe we felt like trash.
Garbage people.
We felt like garbage people.
It just wasn't for me. I can never do it. I'm gonna eat all the donuts and health just isn't my thing.
Health isn't my thing this year.
No.
Right? We've all done it. And the beauty of that is like, we've all been there. And one of my favorite concepts that Kate Stillman, our teacher, mentions is there's nothing that special about your problems. Which is like a little harsh at first. And then it's like, oh, so liberating. Like, oh, so we all have like these issues that at the core, and we're about to go into that, these issues that at the core are really similar to each other and not that particularly special. And once they stop feeling special, then we can stop spending so much time on them and start spending time like on the things that are actually better and way more fun to spend time on.
Totally. And knowing that these are things that are like, oh, it's a pattern. And when I notice it, when I'm aware of it, I can notice it and be like, okay, let's pivot and choose something else. So that's also kind of like the problem's not being so special. It's like, oh, okay, this is a pattern. A lot of people go through it. And also just knowing that other people go through it too. It's kind of nice to be like, it breeds connection just in itself. You're like, oh, they probably are going through that as well, and that person as well. And you've talked to someone and they're like, oh yeah, I've been thinking about that all day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's kind of, we're getting to the meat and potatoes of what we really wanted to talk about today, which is these things, these contractions called the 3 malas. So mala means contraction in Sanskrit. And around the year 800 CE or so, between 800 and 1100 CE, these yogis, these tantric yogis, were sitting around together and writing together and talking together. And they came up with these 3 ways that humans tend to contract. And they are so succinct and so poignant that they're still 100% relevant today, which is why it becomes very clear suddenly that our problems like aren't that exciting because the yogis in the year 800 were like, oh, we're human, we do this.
Yeah, they called it way back then, so.
Totally called it. Totally called it.
Yeah.
So our first mala is Anavamala.
And this is the biggest one because it comes from the heart. So it comes from the heart center, and it's a contraction of the heart center. Naturally, the heart wants to expand. It wants to connect. It wants to connect to people, it wants to connect to nature. It wants to connect to everything the world experiences. And when that contracts, a good way to know that you might be in the Anava is I'm alone. I'm separate. Nobody cares about what I'm doing. Nobody cares about my dreams. I'm unsupported. I'm alone. Nobody cares me.
See? So, sorry. Sorry. Just really important meme.
I mean, memes can speak 1,000 words, so it's important to have them in here. And yeah, it's a very tough contraction because it breeds isolation as well. And a good thing to ask yourself when you're feeling alone, isolated, and perhaps even unsafe, just take a temperature of reality, going, am I actually unsafe, emotionally or physically? And if you're not, that's a good tell that you're in Anava at the moment. Because that feeling of unsafety can breed a story of, I am unsafe and it's unsafe to reach out, it's unsafe to do anything, and the safest thing I can do right now is to retreat even more. And you know, that just takes us more into this Mala, which is the biggest contraction in taking away from achieving our desires and connection.
Absolutely. And I'll point out too that all three of the contractions we're going to be going through, all of them, through all three of the malas, there's nothing about them that is like unnatural. Oh my God, doggy. There's nothing about them that's unnatural or like wrong or bad, or really we can't even stop them. They're a completely normal part of human experience according to the tantric text. It's like, nope, you can't actually escape this because you were born into a human body. You're going to have these contractions, and also you're going to have expansions too, so both parts get to come into it. So it's much less about like, how do we get rid of it? It's really not about that at all. It's all about riding the wave. How do I respond to this when I discover that it happens? So it's kind of like we're all Sherlock Holmeses. We've all got our like little spy glass. That's what I'm trying to do. I'll get our little spy glasses, and we're like keeping an eye out in 2020 for when we have those experiences of isolation, for when we end up in self-pity. Like, poor me. No one understands. No one cares about whether I do this thing or not.
No one's been through this either. I'm the first person to have ever been through this, and no one will understand me. So there's no point in reaching out, talking to anyone.
Which, like, those are like, as ridiculous as they sound when we say them out loud, those are like,
we go through it.
Those are real thoughts that I can feel sometimes. It's like madness. So this is really an invitation to be like aware of when those feelings come up, and recognize that, as tempting as it can be to just like flump into them and just stay isolated. No, the yogis were like, that's a contraction, and we have cures for that. So you don't get to not achieve your dreams just because you're contracting right now. The yogis were like, girl, no.
We got steps, and here they are.
We got steps. So what are they?
So first one, reach out. Like, get vulnerable. And if it's reaching out,
sorry, I'm really sorry.
Nobody hear me. If you're feeling alone, if you're feeling isolated, reach out to someone. And even be specific. If there's something that you're wanting help on, reaching out and being like, hey, I'm feeling alone, I'm feeling isolated, and I want connection, and I need this from you. Or if you don't even know what you need, or if there's nothing specific that you can grasp and you just want to talk to someone, you want to get out of that, just say, like, you know, I'm feeling disconnected and I just want to connect, and so I'm here now talking to you, you know?
Literally 90% of our relationship. Which is awesome. Like, because it's not calling someone and being like, poor me. Where is he? It's not calling someone and being like, poor me. It's calling someone and being like, hey, this is where I am right now. I don't want to feel this way. And saying like, can you do this for me? Like, can you just be here to like hear what I'm going through right now, and then tell me about your day, or something like that. It can be so simple, but making sure that when we feel that contraction, which sometimes can actually be a physiological experience. And sometimes it's, you know, kind of in our head, but if we're paying to our attention to our bodies, sometimes it really is like a physical shutting down.
Yeah.
The response can be so simple. It's just reaching out, and instead of feeling like we're alone, feeling connected, whether it's to, you know, someone that you're related to, or a friend, or if you have an internet community that you're into, anybody who could help you to not feel so alone. And another good point around that is often when we feel alone, it's because we're not with ourselves. So I'd love to take a moment here and invite you to draw your hands to your heart. You can sit up, you know, not rigid tall, but just sit up with some awareness and start to take some breaths into your hands and just feel into your heart center here. You can sigh if it feels good. Keep yourself company for a couple of breaths. So frequently we want to reach outside of ourselves, and it's because we haven't taken just that little moment to offer ourselves the support that is perpetually available.
Yeah.
Good work. So you can let your hands come back down, or keep them where they are if you like, if it feels good. But the basic point with Amala is reach out, don't tweak out. And in your mind, bookmark whoever it is that you can tap when you need that little helping hand. And remember to be constructive about it, right? Like,
yeah, completely.
Like, ask them for help in a way that will make them happy to help you again.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you don't have to ask for help, because we all need help, but like, how can you formulate it? Not like you owe them something, but so that they're not like, oh, not her again.
Yeah.
She's just going to tell me
God.
what's wrong
Yeah.
and never fix anything, right?
Yeah.
So like, get intentional about how you want help.
Yeah.
And man, it comes back.
Yeah.
It comes back in spades.
Totally. And the moment you do that, this Mala starts to dissolve, because connection's there and you're expanding your heart. And so the contraction is just, it's becoming expansion.
Until the next time. Yeah. All right, we got another one. I made these nice drawings for you. I was an art major for 3 months. So Amala, measurement is the root word of Maya in Sanskrit. So we're judging. I am separate. I am better than. I am worse than. We're stuck up here. That's why it's a furrow, by the way, in case you're wondering what's going on in his face. He's got a furrowed brow. And he's saying, they're idiots.
They're dum-dums.
Stupid. Not that any of us spend time in that Mala.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. All these Malas have had their rotations, sometimes daily, you know?
Sometimes many times in a day.
Yes. Yes. And this Mala, you know, the last one was the heart. This one's, you know, the third eye. It's a like judgment in itself. It's very heady. So it's disconnected from the body. It's head cut off from the heart, from the rest of the body. So non-embodiment, and very kind of in your head. And measurement and judgment in itself are not good and bad. Like, you know, we need judgment and discernment and, you know, to measure things in our lives. However, it becomes a problem when it causes separation. And a lot of that is, you know, I'm better than, they're less than, I'm less than, they're better than, you know, it's, you know, worse than, different than. It causes a separation, and that separation it stops you from getting where you want to go, because you're just in your head and you're cut off from everything else.
And God help all of us when I'm an Anavamala and my Amala get together. Because when we have both of those at the same time, we have an inferiority complex. I don't know anything. I can't do anything.
Yeah.
Poor me. I'm an idiot. You know?
Pretty debilitating.
The like ever-present cultural phenomenon of imposter syndrome. Classic case of contraction here and contraction here. Which once we realize that it's just like this normal thing that everybody's experiencing, starts to dissolve.
Exactly. And that's all it takes, awareness. And just like knowing, like with the inferiority complex, if you notice like, you know, you're in a space where you're like, oh my gosh, like everything I've ever learned, I'm not attached to. Everything that I've ever like experienced, I don't remember. I don't know anything. Everything I thought I was is outside of myself and I can't reach it. What's going on? I can't do anything. I can't talk to them. I forget how to speak. You're like, okay, take a second. I'm not connected here, and I'm in my head. And the moment you start to notice that, it's going to disappear and you're going to be like, oh, okay, that's part of me. It was never separate. You're going to feel alignment again.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of knowing, because it's difficult when you experience these things and there's no point of reference. They're just super nebulous. And you're like, oh my God, what's happening? Like, I can't get out of it.
I'm blind and crawling through smoke. It's horrible until, you know, we start to realize like, oh, pretty much all of my ailments can be categorized. You know, my mental, emotional ailments can be categorized in one of these three ways. It becomes much more boring and much more accessible.
Yeah, you're like, oh, this is a pattern. I recognize this. Now I can choose this. I can take this action, and it changes.
Which is a real pain in the ass, because then there are no more excuses.
Yeah.
2020, gonna be a lot of work.
Yeah. You got this.
So my Amala is sneaky. We end up in criticism and judgment without realizing it a lot of the time. That's why I put the guy with his arms crossed. He's tense. So one of the quickest ways to dissolve this mala is to relax. And I'm actually going to stand up and to like actually move around for a minute. And if anybody wants to join me, I totally like encourage you to do that, because this is truly like a great way to move that judgment that's stuck in the head out of there and into the body. And suddenly like everything feels different. And this is a great argument for doing some exercise every day, really, like to make sure that in some way, especially upon waking, if we can remind the body that it's actually connected to our head, and that there can be connection and synergy between the mind and the heart, man, our experience can be so much different. So yeah, to fix it, real simple. Move around, take a breath.
Yes. And also, if you find yourself in judgment of yourself or of other people, with yourself, you know, just kind of take a moment and be like, what have I been through today? What have I been through in the last week? What is, you know, the context for me thinking like this, for me behaving in the way that I'm judging myself for? Can I have compassion for myself? And really taking that time and feeling compassion for yourself, you know, how you got where you are in this state that you're in, really feel into that and be empathetic with yourself. And the same with other people. If you find yourself being really judgmental of someone else and it's cutting you off from them, it's a better than or it's a less than, put yourself in their shoes. Why are they acting like that? Why are they thinking like that? What has maybe gone on in their day? Try to really empathize with who they are at that moment and how they got there. And just the act of doing that dissolves this mala, because you're connected. You're moving down into your body again, in your heart.
Absolutely. So when it comes to self-sabotage, if we're stuck in my Amala, it can look like looking for perfection and not getting there and judging ourselves for it. It can look like I'm doing it all or I'm not doing it at all. Like, oh, I ate those 3 cupcakes today, so I'm going to eat whatever I want for the rest of the week because I already screwed it up.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of like, if I didn't do it perfectly, then I'm not doing it. Yeah. Catch that, notice it, recognize it as the contraction that it is, and reach out to someone. Let them know, like, hey, I just ate 3 cupcakes. It's whatever, but like, can I call you tomorrow and let you know that I didn't eat any cupcakes.
Yeah.
Something as simple as that, to reverse it and turn it into expansion and connection instead of separateness, right?
Completely.
And if you end up feeling like this is impossible, I can't at all because I'm not X enough or I'm not Y enough, probably my Amala. It's a judgment issue.
Yeah. Move into kind of like with the goals, notice the goals that you kind of have for yourself, and are they aiming for A++? Like take a moment and kind of readjust the goals so that they're more manageable and that they've got room for error, that they're more manageable and they're more human. And when you're in them, notice your tendency maybe to shoot for perfectionism, which can really cross off all our goals, because none of us are perfect, and it's just setting ourselves up for more of this self-sabotage in the form of Maya.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then we got one more mala. Karma means action in Sanskrit. Karma malar. Karma malar. We're gonna be telling you guys about karma malar. Don't you worry, we'll tell you about karma malar. Looking at this guy now, I just did him kind of quick. He looks like he's about to have horrible diarrhea. It looks like what I just drew myself right before something terrible happens. Great. Okay, so the opposite of stuck, that guy. Anyways, karma means action in Sanskrit. I should have given us more time. Should have actually asked someone's opinion about the art that I made for this webinar.
It's perfect.
Karma mala, I'm stuck, or I am the doer, which maybe could take a little explanation. I'm stuck. I'm the doer. The thing that is tantric philosophy, and I know some people hear the word tantric and they think like sex, but tantric philosophy isn't sex. It includes sex because it is the idea that everything in the universe contains a spark of the divine. So you, me, this computer, the plants behind me, each one of those light bulbs and every little atom in them contain a spark of the divine, which there's very few concepts that I enjoy more than that one, right? So being that we contain a spark of the divine always is trying to move through us. And if we follow the tantric teachings, being that we were born in a human body with human minds means that we're all the time forgetting that we have this access to divinity. So it's like there's a light bulb underneath, and then there's a bunch of layers of bone and flesh and all of that and clothes on top of it. And our mind layers, they call them veils, and they obscure that light unless we get really intentional about peeling back or removing the veils, which they just get in the way. So once we start to remove those veils and we start to allow that light to shine out from through us and in our actions and in our thoughts, then we are no longer the doer. We in the small sense, I in the like little me egoic sense, the divine is the doer and it's moving through us.
It's so beautiful.
Is there anything? Cheers. We can do whatever we want. It's our webinar. So karma mala is when we are stuck and we don't have access to that awareness. We think that we are in charge of everything, that we have to do everything. We forget. Happens all the time. And in its strongest forms, it can look like procrastination. Well, you go ahead.
Yeah. Procrastination, feeling stuck, failure to act. This happens in the third chakra, so in the navel center. And that's kind of where we access and act on our personal power. And kind of like how they're beautifully put, like I am the doer. It's kind of us getting in the way of that personal power that wants to come out and really blocking it off. And that can look like, you are in a course and you've got, every week you have webinars to watch, and it's been 3 weeks and you haven't watched any, and now it's just getting very overwhelming because you have so many to catch up on, and you're just not taking the actions that lead you to the goals and the desires that you want. And eventually it builds up and it feels overwhelming, and this is kind of how you get stuck through not acting. And a simple way to get through this is just taking the next simplest, easiest action. Watching 5 minutes of one of those videos. If you've got a book to read a paragraph. I think this also ties in so beautifully to one of the second Yoga Sutra of the Aquarian Age by Yogi Bhajan. When the pressure is on, or when the time is on you, start, and the pressure will be off. It's fail to take action and not letting the divine move through us.
And it can be so easy to get into self-judgment.
Yeah.
This one in the belly, in the third chakra, connects into that mental judgment. Like, I am such a piece of shit. I haven't done anything I was supposed to do today. Not that I've ever had that thought before, but that feeling of like real trash talk that can come from stagnation. It's these malas that are totally normal experiences
100%.
in deep contraction, and all we need to do is notice them. Mm-hmm. What's 1% of action? Like, what's a 1% change that you could jump onto? It doesn't need to be like you suddenly burn yourself out by fixing the problem and doing everything. No, start right here with whatever's smallest and most doable. And what do you know? Maybe 1% ends up being really easy. And then suddenly you want to do 15%. That's fine. But set your goals so small that you can just, instead of jumping over them, you just walk over them.
Yeah. So small, and really celebrating yourself for taking that action. And like Adair was saying, it can tie up to here, and all of a sudden trash talk, and you actually make this about you. Like, you attach to it. You're like, oh, I am this, like, this is me. Like, I don't do work. I don't take the action that I need. Like, this is part of who I am. When you kind of notice these coming up and notice that it's just a pattern, you can be like, oh, I can choose something else. I can take a tiny action and this dissolves a bit. It's not who you are. And a good thing to remember with these malas is the inclination to make these contractions mean something about who you are. Like, make them a story that they are you and that's who you are. And it's not. And being aware when those stories come up, you can be like, oh, okay, what mala am I in right now? And then taking the next action, and it dissolves. Like, oh, I can choose something else.
And it gets easier over time. The more we notice these things, I mean, I'm sure many of us can relate to this. The more we practice, the easier it gets.
Yeah.
It's not like they dissolved, now they're gone. It's like, no, they dissolved this time, and in 5 minutes, there might be another one. Yeah. And that's okay, because the better we get at recognizing them, the less we allow them to continue. And before we know it, we've started to shift what we thought of as our personality.
Yeah.
And we've become more ourselves.
Completely. And this is shifting neural pathways. So it's going to take a bit of time, and it might be a bit uncomfortable at first, but it's, we're becoming more of us, our authentic selves, and we're becoming more of who we are and who we choose to be, instead of being defined by being on autopilot and a vision of the past and something that we're not choosing, and we're just kind of being pulled and thrown by.
Yeah. So owning it is number one if we don't want to be thrown around and pulled around, if we want to actually live lives that we're architecting instead of lives that we're like, I don't know what's going to happen, leaving it all to chance. It's like, there's enough that we can't control. There's certain things that it's a really good idea to get good at doing. So name it when it happens. Like, play a game, have a little tally at the end of the day, like, name it. You get $1. You get to give yourself $1 for every contraction you named, right? But really, like, name perfectionism, name insecurity, name feeling shut down, name feeling judgmental, name being critical in your own head of yourself, and watch those things lose their power. And instead of being stuck on the hamster wheel of negativity, that we're just, it's like that's the hand we're dealt, most of us, until we figure out how not to be there.
Yeah.
Instead of getting stuck on there, we actually get to use all that hamster energy for something that's really great. Like being like our dharma, the thing that we're actually here to do, because we're all here for a reason. And Lord knows the world needs our consciousness on point right now. Like there is no time for being stuck, and I can't.
No time. And the world needs us in alignment, and it needs us in what we each individually choose for ourselves, because that's all incredibly unique. And the moment that we become conscious of these, we can start to really pick what is that we want, what is it that we're bringing to this world in this time, that we all need our unique gifts, our unique intentions, pure intentions, which come from this.
Absolutely. So when we feel Amala in the heart, we reach out. We don't tweak out.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Reach out. Don't tweak out.
We're not going to do it together. We won't do that to you. And we train ourselves not to judge when we feel that contraction of judgment. Slowly, and by offering compassion and humility, we slowly dissolve that contraction, the Maya Amala judgment piece.
And another thing about the Maya I want to touch on quickly is that when we say, if we're in a classroom and we're feeling maybe a bit insecure, and all of a sudden we're like, no, I want to act like the smartest person in the room, but you actually have some questions and you actually want clarity on stuff, you pretending you know everything, it's cutting you off from getting the support that you need from the teacher. It's cutting you off from the other students for getting support and just connection. And to kind of, like you just touched on, humbleness, to kind of be like, okay, what do I actually want in this situation? How can I get it? Okay, I have questions about this. Reach out to your mentor. How can I kind of get there? What would you recommend? Yeah.
And then for Karma Mala, that action oriented or inaction oriented contraction, think about the actions that you need to take, even if you've never taken them before. In fact, especially if you've never taken them before, because those can be the scariest, right? Get the help you need for all three of them and make small steps, and you will see a difference.
You will. And we were talking the other day, and you mentioned with the Karma Mala, and I thought it was brilliant, with Kundalini practices as well. If you're familiar, doing a practice that activates the navel center, because you're activating that chakra on a physical level, and it naturally gets your body in that state of accessing that personal power and letting it flow through you.
That's right. So like doing leg lifts, basically. If you're stuck and you're like, I can't do anything, I'm a garbage troll. 30 seconds of leg lifts, see what happens.
Yeah.
So we wanted to offer you the opportunity to do some reflection. And if you have a journal, that's awesome. If you don't, maybe a good time to run and snag one, because these are more powerful, I find, when they're actually written out. But we have these prompts up here. So think for a moment, and you can, get comfortable, let your eyes soften if you want, or even close. Think which one of these malas, or more than one, showed up in the past year. What did it feel like? You might have one or two particular instances that were really potent that come up. You might be recognizing that there's a really persistent pattern. So go ahead, take some time and give yourself the space, give yourself the honor, really, of diving into this. We'll just give you a few to hang out with that. And one pro tip for any kind of reflective journaling of this nature, it's easy to second guess ourselves, but if something comes up and there's some kind of automatic response that tries to bat it down, whatever the first thing that comes up is, that's right. Like there's no wrong answers, but your intuition's right. And if you haven't gotten a chance to move on to this one, when you encountered those malas, those self-sabotaging contractions, if you imagine yourself walking down a road towards whatever it is you desire, and that you could imagine the mala as something that blocks you, what is on the other side of that road? What did it block you from accessing? Experientially, in terms of relationships, in terms of your own relationship with yourself, what did it block you from? I really encourage you to come back to this at some point in the future if you're not completely done with it. We're going to move along. So begin to envision what you want to be different this year. Go wild and imagine that that block is not in your path, that you've gotten so good at navigating it that you're able to just hop right over it or move right around it. And when you think about what you want to be different this year, think in terms of positives. So not, I don't want to do this or I don't want to do that. Think, I want this instead of that. What are you opening up into? What are you expanding into? And you may not know, and that's okay, because asking the question is so potent.
Giving that space.
And then finally, in what ways can you use this information about the malas to get to where you want to go? Like we were talking about before, think like so small, baby steps, repeatable things, and aiming for a B minus.
Yeah.
Like, what's the smallest thing you can do and have still kick the wheel? Because if you keep doing small things, if you keep doing small things that are crummy for you, that's going to add up and not in a good way. And the beautiful thing is that if you keep doing small things that are rejuvenating, that's going to add up.
Yeah.
And in a really, really exciting way. You almost want to think, when I do X, judge, feel separate, feel sorry for myself, fail to act, I can do Y. Reach out, move my shoulders, take a breath.
Yeah.
Super simple.
Yeah. What are the steps that will dissolve this mala?
So know that you can come back to this at any time. We're gonna close up this journaling piece, and I'm gonna encourage everyone to do another little stretch. Please feel free to stand up if you would like. Notice your breath, deep inhale, complete exhale. Whatever you can do to make yourself that little bit more comfortable. We're going to be moving into a guided meditation. So if you want to lie down on the floor or on the couch or bring your computer or your phone to your bed, like whatever will be the coziest, most comfortable, receptive environment. You want to think about being receptive. If you can, keep your chest open in any way, even by lying on a yoga block or a pillow, putting that right underneath your heart center on your back if you're lying down. There's great ways to keep yourself open and let your palms be face up, like you're receiving from the universe. So just begin by noticing your breath. It can move in and out without any real effort. It's more like being breathed than breathing itself. And begin to become aware of your heart space, your heart center. Breathe like you could draw air in through your heart. And breathe like you could exhale the air out through the back of your heart. What we're doing here is making space in the heart for any undigested contractions that have occurred in the past. Not judging, not even trying to change anything, but just drawing in space and breathing out the heaviness or any stagnation that might be still present as a result of Amala. And now we'll do the same for the third eye. Breathing with your attention and even your gaze drawn to your third eye, the center of your forehead. And exhaling, maybe sending that exhale as if it could go up through the center of your head, the top of your head, the crown. Making space for all the times that you have contracted and letting those catch up and integrate. We're in the present now. We don't need to be driven by the past. But we do want to let it take a moment to soften, to let our experience around the past soften. So letting the experience of self-judgment, of critique of others, of feeling less than, of feeling not enough. Let any of those gathered experiences have a little space here. You've already lived them. They won't hurt you. You can only help yourself by staying present with them and letting them move. And it's by doing this that we make space for a new relationship with the inevitable contractions of being human. And then drawing your attention to your belly, a little bit below the belly button. Letting any of those karma malas, those action contractions that may have stopped you in your tracks, catch up. Breathing like you could draw the breath in through right below your belly button at your navel point. And exhaling like it could move through your back body into the past, right where it belongs. And as you breathe here, begin to sense, feel, become aware of a white light growing and glowing in the center of the chest. As well as in the third eye center. And in the belly. So that you're moving from contraction into the brightness of expansion. Feel yourself being breathed. Feel the presence of this light. Now get really present with just what it is you want to move into this year. Get present with how you want to feel. Become so present with that sensation that in this time and space, it becomes your reality. And as it becomes your reality, you begin to envision your higher self. That essential version of you. In Kundalini yoga, we call it the Satnam, the true self, that always knows what to do and that is always radiating peace. You can see yourself sitting next to your essential self, or perhaps even melding into the same space as your essential self. Because in this space and time, you are that person. How does it feel to be this person? What physical sensations accompany being your essential true self, your higher self? Is there a lightness? Is there a brightness? Is there a sense of embodied possibility as you rest in your essential nature? Is there divinity shining through you? Is there limitlessness? Are you tapped into the infinite abundance of love? Feel into that lightness. Become just 2% more aware of the physical sensations that come from being your highest self in this place and time. Feel into the brightness, into the sense of embodied possibility. Feel into the limitlessness, into your own divinity. And feel yourself intrinsically tapped into the infinite abundance of love that is ever so available, should we remember to call on it. I invite you here to attend to your higher self, because your higher self has something to share with you. Your higher self knows what you need this year. Ask your higher self what it is that you need. And if you get an answer, then that answer is correct. And if you don't hear anything, just know that it was very important to ask the question, and it's important to keep listening. Feel yourself held and supported, and feel your own flexibility, your own ability to evolve and to shift. And begin to become a bit more conscious of your breath, maybe drawing in a deeper breath, letting it out through the mouth, letting the fingers move, the toes wiggle, giving yourself a little smile, moving the shoulders or giving yourself a stretch. Coming back to presence. You did not fall asleep. Ooh. Yeah. How are we feeling? Okay. All right. That's amazing. Thank you for joining us for that experience. We have a little bit more to offer you with regards to not just today, but considering the year we have ahead of us. So, Tira's an astrologer.
Yeah, I'm an astrologer. I started off with Western astrology and Hellenistic astrology, and more recently, I finished intensive Vedic astrology studies. And I offer Vedic astrology readings at my website, jupiterst.ca, on the services. And basically, if you it can offer clarity and wisdom. Like if you're wanting help in some area of your life or you're wanting some clarity, these readings are a great way to give context and to give help, remedies, which is a beautiful aspect to Vedic astrology that work on a quantum level. And if you're going through a hard time and you're maybe wondering when it will end, I have the ability to look at your chart and know when that's going to end. And maybe it's 2 years and I'm like, okay, don't worry, that's finishing up in 2 years. This is what you can expect in the years coming after. This is going to come into your life. And it's really catered to you, what you want to focus on and what's going on for you. If you're having marital problems, if you're wondering why you're having a certain illness, if financial problems, that's something that I can see in the chart and I can give context to and clarity, and we can possibly work with remedies. And the remedies are something that I can kind of attune to whatever you practice, whether spiritually or religiously. I'm trained with the Hindu deities, but if you're Christian, we can work with Christian saints. If you're Buddhist, we can work with that tradition. It's really because it's all energetics. So it's whatever you do in your life, and it's really just to make your life easier and to have some more fluidity in you living your best life. So if this is something that interests you, you can find me at jupiterst.ca and services, and my Instagram's TRT. It's got a little bit of everything. I don't know, you might find something interesting there. But
Definitely.
Yeah.
You're going to find something good.
Reach out if that interests you, and I'd love to do reading for you.
Yeah. And there is more where this came from for me too. So if you're interested in having more tools in your tool belt as you move into 2020, I'll jump out of the bush at you and give them to you. So I am running a really exciting program called Being Extraordinary. It is a unique life-changing experience where we use 10 habits based in Ayurveda, or the sister science to yoga, that bring our minds and our bodies into alignment with nature's rhythms. So leaving behind a lot of the worry and a lot of the contractions that we experience, leaving behind the intensity or the density of those and moving into something that is much brighter, much lighter, and really supports our ability to do what we're supposed to do here on this earth, instead of getting caught in that lower, more gross, less subtle stuff that we kind of just get caught in until we figure out how not to be caught in it. So if you want to learn to take impeccable care of yourself within a dynamic group experience, this is something to pay attention to. If you want to live habits that are regenerating, if you want to be well nourished and nurture yourself, if you want a kinder relationship with your mind and your body, you want more energy, you want to live more well rested and experience ease, flow, and thrive, If you want to be around people who are also actively evolving and who are supportive of your active evolution, if you want more you time or you want more harmonious relationships, if any of these things are resonating with you, then this is really something to pay attention to. And that's me saying that being extraordinary is for you if it resonates. Ooh. So being a course member, I've decided to make the analogy of it's like belonging to a gym, but it's a gym for your mind, your body, and your spirit. And in the gym, there's a group of motivated, compassionate people. See all of those nice guys with goals that are similar to yours. They may not be exactly the same, but just like our contractions are similar, these goals are around similar things. And they're there to support you, just like you're there to support them. So it's a built-in support network. And there's a personal trainer in there. See me? That's me. Who sees where you want to go and coaches you in getting there step by step, bit by bit. And also, because the program is based online, you can access it anywhere through your smartphone or your computer. And the nitty gritty of it, our extraordinary group meets for weekly live calls where we dive into the material and I offer coaching. And these are on Thursdays at 7 p.m. They're all recorded, so you don't need to be there specifically for the call. You can access it later, or if you want to watch it again, you can do that. And every member gets a monthly one-on-one 20-minute laser coaching call with me. You also get access to an online hub, which is a real gold mine of information with my teacher. It's all information and videos from my teacher, Kate, who we mentioned at the beginning of the webinar. So you get tons of weekly video and audio content. She's a real whiz and a master of behavior modification and of yogic philosophy. So not only do you have access to me as a teacher and a guide, but you have access to Kate's information, which is extensive. And we'll also have a private Facebook forum where you can connect and give and receive support from the other members. And you get a copy of our course text, Kate Stillman's book, Body Thrive. So if you want more energy, you want better sleep habits, you want support with healthy relationships, you want healthy eating guidelines and help with that, you want coping skills and stress management techniques, a healthier relationship with food, and you want deeper nourishment, and you want guidance in dropping the old habits and dropping those old ways of relating to the malas and becoming more authentically yourself, and you want connection with a group that is committed to helping you with your goals, this is something to pay attention to. So the cool thing is that I love doing mind-body goal calls. They are one of my favorite things in the world to do with people. It's a complimentary call, lasts between 45 to 60 minutes, and it's with me. And we will go over where you're at, where you want to go, and really just get into the details of where you are. It's an opportunity to be really heard and really deeply listened to. And it's an opportunity to get clear on what your priorities are and where you want to move into 2020. There's no pressure to sign up for the group if you sign up for one of these calls, but it is a great opportunity to see whether the group might be a good fit for you. And also, like I said, just to get clarity on where you are and where you're headed. So anybody who signs up for a call of this nature before January 10th will go into a drawing to receive a free private 60-minute yoga class with me. We can do it via Zoom. We can do it in person if you're local. But one way or the other, I'll be making a drawing on January 10th and getting in touch with whoever wins. So you can head to withadair.com/being to fill out a quick form, probably takes about 5 minutes, and sign up for your call. And you can email me at withadair@gmail.com with any questions, and follow me on Instagram at with_Adair.
This is an incredible course, and Adair lives in such integrity with everything she teaches. And if you want to live in balance and abundance, like mind, body, and soul, I can't recommend this course enough. It's a real opportunity.
Thanks. I paid her so much to say that.
This is sponsored.
It is sponsored. Thank you. So that is what we have for you in terms of material today. The only last request that I have for you as a group is to take a moment to get quiet with yourself once more and to set an intention for the year. And this intention need not be anything big or lofty. The quality of the intention is the purity with which you bring it about in this moment. So tap into your depth and decide what it is you want to hold as your beacon this year. And know that this world needs you. And that the clearer you can stay connected to your intention, the greater an impact you have on the consciousness of the entire world. And there's no greater gift that you can give to yourself, and no greater gift that you can give to all of the other particles of divinity than getting clear about what it is you care about and allowing that to guide you almost like a gentle wind at your back. So if you've gotten clear with it, we thank you.
Thank you
so much for hanging out with us.
This was amazing. Thank you so much for coming.
It was amazing. I'm so grateful. And if anybody wants to share their experience or what they're walking away with, feel free to unmute yourself and, let us know.
This is great. Thanks, guys.
Hey, Jordan.
Hey, Jordan.
Thank you so much.
Hi. Thank you. So nice to meet you.
Happy
Felt
New
really good. I love the meditation.
Ah, good. Thank
Of
you.
course, I'd done an hour and a half of yoga before I came in the door, but
You're in perfect shape for it then.
it was. And the writing was great.
Oh, good.
And I saw you answered my question, so thank you. I couldn't remember what it was. I was like, I don't know. I'm drawing a blank here. What did she say?
Yeah.
I really love the meditation. I wish, I don't know, if you could make like a recording of that, that's one I would love to come back to.
Yay, Caitlin, I'm so glad you were able to be here. My friend. Yeah, I actually recorded this whole thing, so I'll put it on my list of to-dos. Smack me if I don't do it soon. It's a possibility and a real, I could definitely do that.
Yeah, it was really good.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad.
Thank you.
Thanks, Emily. I'm glad we had a second one that you were able to come to.
Yes, me too. Thank you so much.
Is that Sarah Botello on the bottom there?
That is from the West Coast.
From the West Coast.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think you just hung up or something now. You're muted again, but I'm so glad to see you.
Oh, wait.
Nope.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I just thank you so much is what I was saying, I think, before it cut out. That was so lovely.
Oh, I'm so glad you were here. Thank you.
Yeah, great. What a great start to the new year.
Great start to the new year. We're going to rock this. 2020 is going to be very nice. And we're going to ride our contractions with not even going to worry about it. We're just going to know that's what's happening.
Words came to me. 3 words came to me when you asked us to set our intention during the meditation. Balance, tranquility, and dedication.
Beautiful.
Those are my words for the year. So thank you. Very grateful.
Thank you, everybody.
I had a question for Tyra. What do you charge for your readings?
Right now, for a limited time, I'm doing it on a discretionary donation basis.
Ah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna sign up.
Please do.
It's
Sure.
Tira.
Tira.
Like tea.
I always screw that.
Yeah, she's she knows her stuff, man. She's the best.
Now, Tira, did you do the same thing that Adair did with her teacher?
No. Well, yeah, I'm just a bit behind because Adair started first.
She's not behind.
Oh.
She's right where she's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But you're gonna do it, right?
Yeah.
Are you doing it with Adair? So will you be in the group as well?
We'll be in the same course, but Adair started a couple months before me, so it's kind of like a different.
No, I mean the program that Adair's running. Are you gonna participate in it?
Oh.
No.
No, because she's gonna be in a group the
Or
same
you're gonna be
group that I
leading your
am.
own group eventually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Exactly.
I think I'm doing Adair's program. That's why I asked.
Woo! All right, everyone. If we don't have anything else, I'm so glad you all were able to be here, and so much love to you all. Hi, my sister. I'm glad you're here. All right, we'll talk to you later. Love you guys.
Love you guys too.
Bye.
Good to see you. Bye. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.